different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Welcome, 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 everyone. Today's show is about trust. What is trust? How many different expressions of trust are there? So the first thing I'm going to ask today is today's going to be part teaching, part meditation, but it's really about understanding the various sides that trust has. So the first thing I ask you in your own mind is, how do you define trust? The dictionary belief of trust is a firm belief, faith, certainty, or a reliance thereof. Think about that for a second. Belief, faith. We know that we are more than we've heard, read, or studied. But how do we trust that part of us? How do we trust the part of us that says we're mystical, we're unique, we're special? How do we earn that trust? We do that through ceremony, through the different processes of action that turns knowledge into wisdom, and a variety of other tools and techniques. But for the purpose of this expression, let's look at the word trust at its seen and its unseen level. How is trust earned and lost? Through action and inaction. Oftentimes, subtle judgment in our innate trusting expression itself is what limits our spirit. It is the true power of choice between judgment and trust. I want you to conceive this for a second. You trust that your heart beats to keep you alive. You trust that your brain works to keep you in thought structure. You trust your ears when you hear. We do not always trust every memory that we have, because there are times when we were fully aware and not so fully aware. That is when our doubt comes into trust, which then erodes the more subtle, long-term expression of how do we gain and earn trust in this independent, intercreative moment. Why do we innately judge when trusting in spirit? Ask yourself that question to your heart. Right here. Why do we innately judge trusting in spirit? My answer is because we have been born over and over again, gone through the great forgetting numerous times. And our trust in spirit has been eroded as I am technology, who has had to earn spirit's mystical presence over and over again. Many of you have heard me talk about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, the two expressions that are inside our DNA technology that are there to assist the I am presence in its expression. In our current format, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic oftentimes believe it is the soul and not the I am, the actual soul that's there to be in the technology to experience this time-space. And we call these things programs. Sometimes programs become artificially sentient because we gave them that power, or some other force through mythos has given it that power through belief. So when we're in trust, we go back to that heart, back to that innate, spiritual, mystical intelligence that is you. And we go, how do I, this individual being of this moment, earn trust in myself? We earn trust in ourselves by acting daily with an impeccable nature, allowing the id, the ego, the sympathetic, and the parasympathetic its time to express so we may learn its inabilities or capabilities so that we can integrate ourselves into the daily action. It's that subtleness of the world. By allowing everything to have its volume, its word, its expression, we can go forth in equality, equal co-creation. Allow that heart image to come more. Trust that heart image, because we're going to be asking trust-based definitive questions today in a form of a spiritual meditation. It is to do what? What is this imagery of trust? Can we create an image of trust? Can we create a sigil of trust? Do we even need to? Each and every individual being will be hearing these words from their own trusted individual perspective. So there's thousands of points of view that can be described here. And the heart is aware of all of them, because the heart is spirit connected with the technology. And within the technology is this power of choice that the I Am soul has to make. That power of choice acts in the now. Sometimes the now can have a past frequency and a future frequency, because the I Am is aware of its past, present, and future self. Other times it's unaware. This is where trust has a seen and an unseen side. To get people to expand their knowingness, the word trust has a mythos behind it. Tens of thousands of lifetimes past that have created a soup of this expression and this experience behind the word that subtly guides our concept about trust. Our experience in trust subtly guides all of our conceptions, perceptions, misperceptions, and deceptions. Gather that into yourself. Perceptions, misperceptions, deceptions, on all of those other action verb-based words that just describe that process. Bring all that thought imagery, thought structure to your heart and express through your heart to your auric field, I trust in my spirit. I trust in my body. I trust that physical experience of 1 + 1 = 2. I trust my knowingness when the choice comes that I will expand my wisdom and do the right action or inaction. Trust is a waypoint in which I can accept the greater spirit working with me, or I can begin to erode the greater spirit working with me. When asked to do in this meditative teaching, you are connecting the divine co-creative self, asking these trust-based questions. Who are you? You trust in the date that you were born? You trust in the different expressions you've had that created your identity that make you, you? The spiritual awakening beckons us to look at the bigger scale of who we were, who we are now, and who we might be. So I ask to look at you, who you are now. Each asking who they are. And there's a factor of trust behind that, a mythos and a buildup of energy that says trust is this experience. Trust in this reality. Trust in politics and government. That trust is also subtly tacit consent. Words you've heard from me before. When we tacitly consent, we are trusting in an exchange of energy. Oh, look at that. So look to your heart. And this is something that you'll be able to go back to and make a whole list of things and questions that you could put to your heart in a combined meditative process. So great heart that is you in this ever-present moment of now. Let's look at the interdependency that spirit and trust have, that human being and spirit human being have, innately in the duality that we live. I ask heart to help explain the trust that I go through each and every day. I ask that both sides of the perspective and all other perspectives yet perceived be allowed into this choice point factor of trust when it comes to the great spirit working within me. That's a way to dispel doubt, fear, and all those other things that drive you away from activating the great spirit within you, the God, Goddess incarnate now. Trust is self-empowerment. Do you trust yourself with the power? There are a lot of people that are having that little giggle to themselves. Trust in the power. You ready to bear the responsibility of living in the now, having a continuous upkeep with the spirit world? That is what's asked of you if you are going to function at a higher density, higher dimensional level. Are you going to trust yourself enough to be a disciplined master of energy? Are you going to trust yourself enough to follow through with whatever it is that you're trying to create, co-create, or interconnect with? Self-trust. Our self-trust bleeds over onto trust with other people. There are many people that will trust external before they trust their internal. And those people are the true followers out there. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is their path. And we cannot step on their journey. We can only add to the experience in the joyful hope that they will reclaim their power they've given away to the external. Trusting in spirit to do that. Just as they, in their individual belief, are trusting in their belief spirit to help them go. Example, Christianity, Buddhism, or any of the other 5 major religions that don't give full equality to all the sentient kind that are living in it. We'll come for a time where all religions will need to go through a full reformation, a reformation so that science and spirit come to trust again, because science and spirit do not trust each other anymore. And that is another great separation. When scientists and spirituality people can begin to trust each other again, the creations and co-creations that we create will be unimaginably beautiful, unimaginably large in scale and grand in thought, and humongous healing potentials for so many thousands of souls who've been waiting for their opportunity to come and experience 7-color time. We stand on the precipice of a great human change, and we have to trust in spirit working with us right now. I'm often asked why I'm not doing updates on what's going on in the galaxy now, what's going on with this galactic group, that group, or that galactic group. We're at a time, in metaphor, we're at the peak of the roller coaster. I trust in the seatbelts that happen in the roller coaster, and I trust that the roller coaster will go and end. How often are people casting their roller coaster with a microphone in their mouth? And right now, listening to the free earth message, to me, is not right for me. Though I have done that previously, in this current expression, there is too much at stake by over-focusing on the external and not interfocusing our dependency on our internalness to create light, to bring in light from our internal sources and express ourselves as beings of light during a change when we will no longer accept Roman numeral time. Because this is the time that the shamans step forward, the thought leaders step forward, the great spirit creators step forward, and we out-create the system. There'll be plenty of time to watch live on TV when the system goes through its change. There'll be plenty of time to enjoy the celebrations of freedom. But just like those who are about to graduate high school, we must do our due diligence before. It's a matter of, do you want to graduate with your A+ or your D-? Do you want to graduate with extra credit? Do you want to completely create a new system? This is for you. Time for you to make trusting choices in spirit each day to give you the mystical. Living the mystical life daily, every single day. Do you trust yourself enough to do that? Do you trust yourself enough to empower yourself with the divine spirit working with you? I ask that for many reasons. Trust has many seen and unseen scales in the subtle energy and background. Until we can learn to see the subtle energy field around us, trust as a concept will be limited to our five senses, combined with our sixth sense, which is to be judgment-free. A judgment-free point of view is, in essence, a sacred neutral point of view. We adopt, adapt, or assimilate the sacred neutral point of view. Each day, we allow the mystical to change our perception without self-deception, based off of our subtle, trusting emotions of the moment. Think of that. Trust has many seen and unseen scales. Look around you. You know that there is a drawer with forks in it, and you trust that if you go there, there will be more than likely forks there or in the dishwasher. There's an unseen level to those forks. If somebody new is to your house and they come in and you say the fork is in the second drawer to the left, and the person goes to the second drawer to the right because their perception is gone and there is no forks there, their trust isn't there. Do you see how easily trust relates to our reality rules in the seen and the unseen level? Another way of metaphor of describing it is on the unseen level, we trust when we have spiritual communication. So many people get caught up into the, is this me? Is this external? And we come to a choice point where we add and give value to something. Engaged behind that trust is a placebo factor, manifesting the mystical, adding energy to it. The scale of subtle energy in the background. Sometimes we empower our background energy with tremendous amounts of trust. That is when we are in our specialized circles, our place of sanctuary. And when trust of those placed is broken or harmed, it does some of the greatest damage to our knowingness. It limits our ability because doubt is present. Until we can learn to see the subtle energy field around us, trust is a concept. Trust as the concept will be limited to our five senses, combined with our sixth sense, which is to be judgment-free. So I ask that you bring yourself to this individuated moment now. How do you make a choice point judgment-free? Sacred neutrality. How much do you trust yourself to create sacred neutrality that is judgment-free and still allows the choice points to be a seamless strand of consciousness that expands everything that is meant to be without limitations? So much of our monkey mind wants to limit us. A judgment-free point of view is, in essence, that sacred neutral point of view. Some of us adopt, adapt, and assimilate. Others create their own expression of what sacred neutral is. Many of you that are members here and have been to these different member shows have seen the skill in different forms of action and have a layer of trust to it that co-creates synchronicities with you. And now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the mystical can change our perceptions, self-deceptions, based off of our subtle, trusting emotions of the moment. The fine line and choice points where something has earned its trust and our perceptions are balanced with our self-deceptions based off of that subtle, trusting, emotional energy behind. That is a co-creative energy between all the listening audiences that have come and gone. That is a palpable energy field when people have their own mystical, unified experiences. Right now, there's somebody that's having the arm hairs raise up on them, and another that's going through the same thing because individuated moments in this expression are connecting to them individually of everyone else, yet interdependent on everyone else's experience. There's a trust and a meta-trust, seen and unseen trust that's going on in all of these frames of reality. So many of us trust, so much of our trust and mistrust moments exist without fully understanding the moment. and all of its infinite possibilities that come in a moment of choice-based trust. Choice-based trust. I ask you, just think about that. Choice-based trust. I've iterated this now several times through this so that I hammer in the frequency. Trusting is choice. When trust is earned, it goes into knowingness, and there is no limitations with the creation because the energy exchange is trusted, valued, respected. The other side of this frame is giving away power, trusting in spirit or trusting in something else too much, trusting the paycheck will come, and then there's something happening, the paycheck doesn't come. We must begin to prepare ourselves for moments when trust may be questioned. The only thing we need to prepare is it is a set of choice points that will have emotional charge behind it. We aren't going to alter the information by neutralizing the charge. We aren't going to alter the information by transmuting the energy into positive locomotive action. We aren't going to change the message if we, in our set of choice points, understand the subtle energy field working with us or against us by making choice points that include the multidimensional self. Inside a single thought, you can add a prayer, but so many of us don't do that. So many of us don't allow dual-track thinking. So here's your opportunity. When a moment of trust comes up, can you dual-track it? Give it human trust and spiritual trust, unseen behind it too, even if it's a rock on the side of the road. Here's a expression you may want to go try the next time you're out hiking or out walking your regular route. You know, every little bit this is going to come. There's going to be a trash can in 10 minutes. There's going to be a tree. You stop and look. You trust each time that those will happen. Can you do this blindfolded? Do you trust yourself not to take on the projections of others who might see you walking blindfold? Do you trust yourself to not fall over your own feet? Even if it's 10 steps and no one's watching, do you trust yourself to try the experience? So many of us as kids tried walking blindfold. Some of us were really good, some of us were really bad. Here's a trust-based experience in yourself. How much do you trust yourself to walk your driveway or your own house without stubbing your own toe? Allow yourself to be trusting, but not gullible. So many people find themselves over-trusting. That's a harsh one. Okay? How do we stop the projections of others' mistrust upon us? That's step one, is contract revocation, ceremony, and trusting in yourself enough to give yourself energy to overcome self-doubt. How do we let go of the over-trusting energies that suppresses our clear intentions? This relates to that first question of how do we stop the projections of mistrust of others? How do we let go of the over-trusting energies that suppresses our clear intentions of the potential of gullibility? This is where we give away the greatest amounts of our power in most minuscule levels. And trust is one of those choice exchange points of energy where you are beginning to think dual track. I can trust this person that's in front of me. I trust him enough to give him the universal love, but I don't need to give him my core frequency of love. Ooh, subtle judgment coming from the audience, isn't that? Ha, ha. You see, there are many ways that I can pose this expression. You are in charge of your energy field, and trust is the key. Do you trust yourself enough to not worry about the projections and judgments of others if you still give them universal energy, but not any of your core frequency? You still have that sovereign right to not share any of your core frequency, because that being has done what? Has it done? Shared its core frequency, but not its upfront frequency. How aware is it of you? Does it even respect you? Has it earned its respect? All of those things come in these dual tracking thought points where we allow ourselves to be in charge of our physical boundaries, seen and unseen. We make those choice points. So what I'm trying to describe to you is make these choice points ahead of time. You can sit down 1 or 2 days, 3 hours one day, 2 hours the next day, and begin to find some of the things you need to dual track your energy. When you go to work, you are operating in the love and exchange frequency, but you are not sharing your core frequency energy. There should be no pushback to that. And if there is a pushback, there's where you have to create a ceremony that balances. Because so much of the workplace is about your core frequency energy. The love frequency is even more of an intense energy, but the individuals trusting your frequency are expecting your core energy, even though the other one is just as good and better at times, allowing you to save your own energy so you can have your great creations. Imagine if workplace environments worked out of that frequency where people didn't use their core energy all day, every day, so that they are drained as humans when they return home. So when it comes to that work frequency, no, I am always using the love-based frequency, and you set up a ritual and a ceremony that creates that emanation in your field. Other work things, going to and from work. Whenever you are getting documents from work, whether it's your paycheck or your yearly taxes, that when it comes to you, that it's not the core energy that it's sending to you. It is sending you a statement of what you have done and earned from it. So you cannot take on the trust, money trust of the company. Because the company is not an individual person, even though you believe it's from an individual person because you work with everyone's core energies. According to our modern politics right now, corporations are people. No, they're not. They're artificial intelligences that use our core energies to pretend to be people. So when you as individual people stop choosing to share your core energy with it, it can no longer function. So that's dual track thoughting. Relationships. So that is another thing where trust at the most subtle levels can really get you into trouble. So many people have had their heart broken by another going off and cheating, or another changing so much that you don't know them in a few years. You know, it's time immemorial that has been going on. And everyone has that trust broken frequency of individuals there. Now, what do we do with it? Trust is a two-sided and sometimes a three-sided sword. It makes zealots out of us. We innately trust that X person that is my family member will never do something. And then one day that family member discovers heroin or some other kind of drugs, and they're robbing from everyone because they're hooked on something. Broken trust once again. Gullibility once again. Or some other form of over-trusting. Tough, isn't it? And I can feel the resistance in the audience from trying to understand what this all means. As you go back to listen to this, maybe a handful of times, and try transcribing it, you understand the meta message. And the meta message so oftenly is going to be saying choice. To find as many choice points as you can in relationships, in work, in spirituality, so that you have a list, 200 long, that define your trusting energy-based exchanges. If you're an energy channeler or an energy healer, you can make sure that all of your exchanges are done as the sacred facilitator, not having to use your core energy, but in equal co-creation with this earth, planet, and the divine solar source. So all of that is done in the divine frequency. The divine feminine have an extra channel of energy to channel that through themselves, where men must go out and find that energy in physical places. Define the choice points. Define the choice points. That'll be a meta message that'll reach out to many of you. Each and every day you go to and from work. Every fifth stop sign, if you wanted to go into a deeper level, you could do what? Your drive to work. Healers. You, all you healers out there, you trust in your healing skills. You trust in your body. You trust until one day you're burnt out and worn down to the nub. That is being over trusting. We must learn innately how to trust the amount of energy flowing through us, as well as when a body that is trying to be healed may be drawing too much energy into us, that is trying to trigger a mystical experience. That is okay if that is the way your natural healing process goes. But at the end, you must trust yourself enough to internally say, when the healing is over, I return to zero, balance all energy I have exchanged with this being so that I do not create a change in frequency. I, the individual being of this now, have the sovereign, trusting right of myself to make sure that this is an immaculate, impeccable exchange of energy that is brought to the sacred neutral balance so no misperception is created. Do you trust yourself to be that sacred neutral when you end a treatment or begin a treatment? Contemplate those words. Contemplate those concepts as a healer. Does that take the ego out of it? Some of us have issues with ego, and it is the ego that makes us gullible to trust others. It is also the sympathetic and parasympathetic that can subtly haunt us into choice points that we have to trust. And we call that rolling the dice or gambling or trusting in spirit or whatever synchronicity is about to occur. Some of us call it the no plan. All of it has a label. But that's how that mysterious wheel of the world around us works. Do you trust yourself enough to create non-chaotic moments where you can see the wheel turn by sitting still in your own mind, allowing the spirit to be in your heart, allowing the wisdom that you are more than you've heard, read, or studied to be actionable in the now, to call upon the mystical moment, to have the vision and clarity that you seek without an expectation that creates a limitation? Are you ready to trust in yourself enough that you've earned your right onto the next level of awareness? Are you ready to trust yourself that you've healed enough so that you can go out and heal others? Trust is everywhere. It's up, it's down, it's in between. It's the meta message once again. There is a sympathetic and a parasympathetic side. The parasympathetic is the unseen spiritual side of us that has all of our spiritual contracts that's trying to drive us into evolution related to the ego. The sympathetic is us, the soul, that's in here trying to overwhelm the ego and the id and all the other things to create an experience that has choice point-based trust experiences. There are times that the I am isn't always here, giving the sympathetic programs. Parasympathetic is the chess player, and they're constantly at odds. And after a while, the parasympathetic believes it's the soul, the I am, and then the sympathetic becomes the parasympathetic, and everything's all juxtaposed, upside down and inside out. Oftentimes, those people become easily haunted by external sources. And this is where that gullible truth of trust comes in when you hear a word in your mind and we don't say, hey, where did you come from? We didn't trust ourselves enough to doubt something's external sources. And I use an example. Oftentimes, you hear the story of when people were young, they were walking by and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see a cat and something in your mind says, kick the cat. And you go, no, I'd never kick a cat. Or something else that completely isn't you, or a thought thing pops into your mind. If we don't question its source and trust our inner ability to track it down and expunge it from our system, we must begin to make those choice points active in us. So in the future, when that does occur, there is a automated sympathetic and parasympathetic response to an external source trying to abuse your trust in this reality. See? That is the key. Your trust in this reality. And an external, unseen source is trying to manipulate your awareness. And you must trust yourself enough to have pre-prepared messages that come from the sympathetic and the parasympathetic by direct input of the I am connected in the heart in a meditative healing form that imprints these messages of where did you come from? Who are you? Who let you in here? And a variety of other interrogative questions that have the full I am power behind it, which is by intention to push out that other frequency. I have now simplified the equation there of trust. And there are those of you that are going to be wondering up and down, because sometimes I speak fast on intention, and there are other times that I am trusting in spirit, because I am simultaneously working with everyone that is live and all those that will be live and all those in the past. It is the very nature of the type of multidimensional, multifunctional communicating being that I am. Many of you who have become members have heard enough shows to know what it is that I do. Your trust in that knowingness, your trust in the wisdom that comes forth. And what I'm trying to impart now is there's a whole new layer of trust coming that spiritual beings are going to have to learn about. That's that dual track thinking. That you are in charge of your energy at all times in this physical makeup, incarnate, Roman numeral time world right now, leading up to us as human beings crossing the galactic central plane, coming out on the other side, so a golden age can arise by the consciousness and thought leaders putting power into the now. That's that moment of great choice, where the dream time is here in the physical now, and everyone is in unity, communion, and union, when everyone is sharing that moment of, I get it, I get it. That is what's coming to us in a dream state. Many people are going to be waking up, and we need you out there right now to begin to trust yourself. I cannot even begin to tell you how beautiful the changes are, but it needs trust. Trust in Great Spirit, working through us all. Action turns knowledge into wisdom. Trust yourself. Humanity will blossom and new colors will come, just like spring comes every year. It does not matter if there's a storm. It is still spring. Just like the passing of the seasons and the movement of the stars come, our human change comes. Trust in yourself to work with Great Spirit and Great Mystery that is working through all of the universe. Let go of those external sources that are demanding you to be distracted. Connect to your internal source that is asking you to co-create with the divine spirit within, asking you to co-create with the celestial mind of this planet that has been holding space for you so you can go through this evolutionary moment and become a master photonic being of light who can manifest in thousands of realities simultaneously by the power of trusting and choice. Thank you very much, everyone. This has been a unique broadcast, and I trust as many more come to listen, trusting in spirit is important. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.